Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T, here on behalf of Bleacher Report on the day after the Washington Commanders' 42-14 victory in Week 4 over the Arizona Cardinals. We're here to react to that. And last week was a surprise. It felt almost like a dream the day after. You woke up and you're like, is this real? You pinched yourself. This waking up the day after the utter destruction of the Arizona Cardinals. I'm more in a place of expectation now. Like, this is the standard. This is what we are capable of if we are able to do the things that we did in week number 4. Now, I don't know how much of yesterday and the performance defensively specifically was Cliff Kingsbury's insight as to how to defend Kyler Murray, because he didn't look right yesterday. Kyler Murray didn't. He wasn't his normal jitterbuggy self where he's getting out of the pocket, extending plays. And I listened to one of the players on the defensive side of the football after the game yesterday, Dorrance Armstrong Jr., who had his best game by far and away as a Commander, 1.5 sacks yesterday, and just was unblockable, it felt like, for much of the day. And he said the game plan was to obviously keep Kyler Murray in the cup, which that's usually the game plan for every quarterback, especially the mobile ones, right? Just keep them in the cup. Don't let them outside. But he specifically said, make sure that you flush him left. Don't let him go right. I remember last year when Washington played the Chicago Bears, or excuse me, the Buffalo Bills. The first thing on the game plan defensively, they talked about it all week long, was don't let Josh Allen roll right? Don't let him extend the play right. When he goes left, that's when a lot of his turnovers happen. When he goes right, that's when all of the big plays happen. And on cue, very first possession of the game, we let him go right. And of course, he made a big play, a nice throw down the field to Stephon Diggs, and off they went, right? I don't think Kyler Murray got to the right side of the football field trying to escape to throw the football the entire game. I don't think he was able to get out of the pocket the entire game. And it's almost as if he didn't look to get out of the pocket. He seemed flummoxed. He seemed confused. He seemed discombobulated. And it almost makes me feel like we had insider information, so to speak. Like, and it makes me feel like I don't know if what I saw defensively is something that I can trust moving forward, or if they just knew the quarterback so well because the guy that had done so much in his career around Kyler Murray, this Cliff Kingsbury studied Kyler Murray's game since he was in high school, tried to recruit him when he was coming out of high school. And so finally got him in college. And I remember talking about this when Cliff Kingsbury got the job in Arizona and how we knew he was going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. Even though they had already, went and got Josh Rosen and all that, he was going to go get Kyler Murray because of his extensive homework on this kid. And so I don't know if defensively what I saw was a mirage because of who the quarterback we were playing against was and how we had intimate information about what, he likes and what he doesn't like, what makes him tick, how to defend him, et cetera, or the defense is actually getting better. Now, I can tell you this much. They played faster defensively yesterday. They were flying around defensively yesterday. They were hitting people yesterday on the defensive side of the football. They were swarming to the football. I talked about this yesterday on the post-game show. They punched the ball out 3 separate times. The ball hit the carpet yesterday. We only recovered 1 of them. I still don't know how we didn't recover the very first one on the opening kickoff. It went through the legs of a Commanders player, and another guy was right there, and somehow we managed to not recover that fumble. But the fact that the ball was on the carpet on 3 separate occasions, and we sacked Kyler Murray 4 times. Because even if Kyler Murray was flummoxed, we still had to get pressure, right? He could have been standing back there forever. With the way we were pressuring the quarterback the first 3 games of the season, it wouldn't have mattered. He could have stood back there and built a house. That wasn't the case. Jonathan Allen came to life. Dorrance Armstrong came to life. Deron Payne came to life. Frankie Louvu continues to be a one-man wrecking crew. Bobby Wagner continues to be an ageless wonder. And you're starting to see the fruits of their labor pay off defensively, and you're hoping that it's sustainable. They'll get another opportunity next week to continue to build on what they did in week 4, because arguably the Browns are the worst offensive team in football right now. They just can't put it together. But I'm still nervous about this defense, because we could easily be the antidote that the Browns offense is looking for. I'm still not 100% sure, because we still can't stop the run. And we got to talk about it today, because yesterday, I didn't want to talk about it yesterday. I knew it was there. It was the elephant in the room. I didn't want to talk about it yesterday because I want to talk about 42-14. Okay? That's what I wanted to talk about. But today is Tell the Truth Monday, as Dan Quinn likes to call it. Today's Tell the Truth Monday. So we can't gloss over the fact that despite destroying the Cardinals by 4 touchdowns, they still rushed for almost 200 yards in the game. And this is with Kyler Murray only toting the rock once. He only ran one time, and it was one time for like 2 yards, and he ran out of bounds. So it's not like, oh, okay, well, you can explain away the 188 rush yards we gave up in the game because Kyler Murray had 67 of them by himself. No, okay? We were thrashed on the ground. Even when the Cardinals at the end of the game were simply trying to run the clock out, they were getting huge, massive chunks, right? And it was all game long. Honestly speaking, I don't know why they stopped running the football. I would have just continued to run the ball until the Commanders showed resistance, because there weren't enough tackles for loss. There weren't enough short 1-2 yard gains. Most of their runs resulted in 6, 8, 12, 9, 6, 4. And you're like, when is this going to stop? When are they going to stop getting chunks? Their first possession, most of it came on the ground. There were a couple of throws sprinkled in there, here and there, but a lot of the damage was done on the ground with James Conner. We gave up 188 rush yards in a game that we won by 4 touchdowns. At some point when you're down big, you got to stop running the football. And they did it because the runs were serving as pseudo passes. They were still getting nice helpings and chunks on the ground, so they didn't have to stop running the ball necessarily. This is a problem, a big, big problem. Something must be done. And I can't tell you if it's gap fits, if it's lack of aggressiveness up front. Last week, our defensive coordinator talked about different types of boxes. Hey, we got to pull the safety down and create the numbers in a favorable matchup for us. If we go too high safeties, now it's a lighter box. Now we get exposed. I don't feel like the box count is the problem here. I feel like guys jumping into the backfield, getting pinned and pushed out of their gaps because they're too aggressive, is creating massive holes up front that are being exploited by teams. And I knew this was going to happen after week 2. Because week 1, Tampa Bay really didn't exploit the run defense. They had some good hits, but they didn't exploit. The Giants ran duo and quick hitters, and they exploited the fact that we could not stop the run up the middle. And ever since then, you're seeing quick hitters get us up the middle of our defense. And it's happened every week since week 2. And it's not going to stop. And for as excited as I am, I kind of said the same thing last week. A little bit different tone this week because we were able to subdue the pass, right? We were able to get to the quarterback. We were able to affect the game defensively because we were able to affect the quarterback. So it's not as bad as it had been the previous 3 weeks where we weren't able to affect the quarterback at all. Baker Mayfield had a field day. Daniel Jones played relatively well. And Joe Burrow went off last week. This week, Kyler Murray didn't even get to 200 yards. The Cardinals overall didn't even get to 200 yards, right? They had 296 yards, and 188 of it was on the ground, right? So, again, it's hard to fathom that they didn't make it to 300 yards, but that's the kind of day Kyler Murray turned in. You know, you look at his pass yards, he was barely over 100 yards. You take away some of those yards because of the sack yards, and it was a very, very modest day throwing the football. And so credit has to be given. I don't know how much credit has to be given to the secondary, but you have to give them some credit. A lot of you forgot Emmanuel Forbes Jr. was even on the field, and I told you, that's been pretty hard to do. He's the defensive Andrew Wiley for a lot of us, where it's almost impossible to not realize he's on the field because he's been such a liability when he has been on the field. So for him to play an entire game and for us to never call his name, for me to actually give him credit on a tackle because he's put his helmet in there, I went, oh yeah, Emmanuel Forbes Jr. is back this week. Hey, interesting. And he did have a play down the sidelines where he ran a guy out of bounds and did a really good job of finding the football. And so credit must be given to the secondary. But there are games down the road where those teams will not stop running the football. They will be relentless with it, and they are capable of single-handedly winning football games for their team on the ground. We got Derrick Henry in 2 weeks. Did you see what he did last night? That's off the heels of what he did against the Cowboys the week prior. He's just getting lathered up. The first play of the game was an 87-yard touchdown run against the Bills. I don't want to see that in a couple of weeks if we can't do something to fix this run game defensively. This run defense right now scares me because it feels like it's putting a cap on defensively what we can be. And as much as I would prefer to stop the pass over the run, because you can stiffen in the red zone defensively on the ground, you can stiffen. Gets a lot tighter in there, not as much space to worry about. Now you can bring that extra defender down into the box. You can get better stopping the run as you get into tighter quarters. Still, you're giving up tons of yards that allow the opposition into the red zone, into situations where they score. Now all you need is someone to get beat one-on-one, or for miscommunication down by the red zone, or them to run a nice pick play, or like the Cardinals did on Sunday, a perfect pass on a really good route on a 4th down, and it's indefensible. That's all you need once you get that close. You're going to see Saquon Barkley, who has been masterful this year for the Eagles. He's been really the lone bright spot of that offense. These are guys that can take over football games, and if we don't get this run defense cleaned up, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem in games down the road potentially. But outside of that, really right now, there isn't much to complain about. Yeah, we punted for the first time in almost 3 weeks, right? The streak stopped at 16 possessions straight, going all the way back to the end of the Tampa game. 7 possessions against the Giants, 6 more against the Bengals, for a total of 14 in the first 2 possessions of the Cardinals game. The count was up to 16 straight possessions of scoring football for the Commanders. I've never seen anything like it before. It was amazing. And the crazy part is we just started a new streak. He threw an interception on a drive that was definitely going for more points, right? He got a little bit overzealous. He saw Terry over the middle of the field. He got anxious, or not anxious. He got excited, and he cut it loose, and the ball just sailed on him. And it's a heck of a play because, honestly, that type of pass, that guy got one hand up there. He wasn't looking to pick it off. He was looking to, knock it down. And somehow that ball didn't just ricochet off of his hand. Instead, it kind of died on his hand and it allowed him to just kind of corral it. It's an amazing play, honestly. And I think while it was bittersweet to see the streak come to an end, it also was like, okay, we got that out of the way now. Got his interception out of the way, his turnover, and we got the streak over with. Now let's start a new one. And then surprisingly, we punted right there then after. And I'm like, okay, so are we going down this path of, the opposite direction now? Are we mortal? Are we now showing that we're human on the offensive side of football? Interception, then a punt. And he's like, nah. Then we get the field goal before the half. And again, got to give credit to the defense for getting that stop. I thought the Cardinals were being greedy there. They could have they got a big leg kicker and Matt Prater. Probably would have been like a 53-yard field goal or something. And they turned down an opportunity to kick a field goal and tried to go for it on fourth down and got sacked. Again, another instance of Kyler Murray like standing in the pocket like a deer in headlights, refusing to run and use his legs for whatever reason. And that allowed us, with all our timeouts, to go get in the field goal range and set up our kicker. He made the kick. And then from that point forward, we scored on every offensive possession of the second half. And before you knew it, this was a 42 to 14 game, right? Went from 17-7 at half to 42 to 14 eventually. So if I'm not mistaken, I think we scored on 4 second half possessions, coupled with the one before the half. So you got 5 scoring possessions, if I'm not mistaken, in this game. As we scored, I think we scored 7 times in this game, 2 field goals, 5 touchdowns. Pretty sure it's 2 field goals, 5 touchdowns, 2-point conversion. So 35, 36, and then 2 field goals, 42. So we scored on 7 possessions and 5 of them in a row. So we started a brand new streak, essentially, closing out the game. So now the question is, how far does this one go, right? That's a good Browns defense we'll see next week. So I don't think it'll be one of those games where you don't punt. And they'll get pressure on Jayden Daniels with Myles Garrett. Trust and believe that that whole standing back there building a house, we've been serenading. And I'm so glad that the fans are serenading O-line Bobby Johnson and the offensive line with praise right now, because they deserve it. They were a very, very much maligned group heading into the season. It was one of those positions where fans didn't think that the general manager had done enough. And Chef P has been outstanding. And that offensive line is playing really well right now. Now, I wonder what's the status and the health of Nick Allegretti, who left the game with an ankle injury, and I don't think he came back. So I want to know what's the situation with him. And I think Michael Dieter finished the game at left guard. So that's something to keep an eye on. And, the day after, right? We talk about the day after reaction. I watched the Dan Quinn locker room speech and the presenting of the game ball to Cliff Kingsbury at least 200 times. I can't get enough of that. And the rousing applause that he got in the locker room from the players and staff members and people that were in the locker room, it gave me goosebumps watching that. And it shows that brotherhood that DQ is always talking about, how you need to be more excited for the next man's accomplishment than your own. And you're seeing that in this locker room. So many guys were excited for Jeremy McNichols, like getting his opportunity and not missing, right? I mean, Jeremy McNichols was outstanding. And that's another testament to Adam Peters and this group's ability to identify talented football players that fit in their scheme. And, as much as we talked about how we're going to miss Austin Eckler, while we didn't really return any kicks because I don't think any of them were really returnable from Prater. So we really didn't miss him in the special teams game. We thought we'd miss him at running back, and we might have missed him from a pass catcher standpoint. But you know what they did? And this was so genius on their part. And we wondered why, all of a sudden, Olamide Zaccheaus was such a big part of the game plan, right? He went the first 3 weeks and he was practically invisible. And then you get to week 4 and he leads the team in receptions and yards. And you're like, where did this come from? And if you can go back in your mental Rolodex to Dan Quinn talking about what Olamide Zaccheaus brought to the table, he said OZ is a guy that played running back in college. And so he's got that experience. He's got that versatility. And it's something that we feel like is going to be a real asset to this team at some point. And so we love guys that can do multiple things. And here's Olamide Zaccheaus with that background, with the ability to fill in for a guy like Austin Eckler. And while he didn't have any carries out of the backfield, they left that to Jeremy McNichols. And Brian Robinson Jr. went over 100 yards, and he was steady Eddie as he always is. Olamide Zaccheaus got out of the backfield, and he ran routes out of the backfield. And he filled the Austin Eckler pass catching role for this team on Sunday, and he was fantastic at it. And so you see the different layers that this team has, and you start to see the different things that they're able to do. And it gives you more confidence that this train isn't stopping, right? As long as we got 5 back there at quarterback, and we got Terry McLaurin, because that's a pretty big one, because he changes the way defenses defend us. You got to try to bracket him, double him. You can't give him one-on-one. You saw what he did yesterday down in the red zone. You have to put a second defender, or at least a second set of eyes on him, or he's going to win. And in crucial situations, there's a third down early in the game. Terry runs the slant, right? And Jayden gets the ball, puts it right between the 1 and the 7. First down, move the sticks. Terry had another one of those games, went down and caught one on a low throw that was incredible in a window, right? And then obviously had the touchdown catch. And, it's good to see Terry get in the end zone 2 games in a row. But to go back to Cliff Kingsbury, who got the game ball, and like I said, I can't get enough of that. What's going on? It's your man Louie T here on behalf of Mando. And if you've watched this channel, then you know how fond I am of Mando products. I saw the commercial one day. I'm vegan. I said, why not give it a shot? I've tried so many different deodorants that haven't worked for me. And this one did. And it's football season, and I'm known to walk around and be very active during football season. And I work up a sweat sometimes. And Mando takes care of me from head to toe. And I love this product, and here are some of the reasons why I love it and why it could be beneficial for you as well. Mando is a whole body deodorant, safe to put on anywhere. Your body parts, pits, package, grundle, balls, feet, belly buttons, butt cracks, stomach folds, anywhere that doesn't get a ton of sunlight and is confined is going to end up being funky. It's going to have hair and it's going to stink. That's where Mando comes in. Attacks odors aggressively, clinically proven to control odor for up to 72 hours. Available in 4 cologne quality scents: Bourbon Leather, Mount Fuji, which is my personal favorite, Pro Sport, and Clover Woods. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It allows you to dibble and dabble and figure out which products you like best. You get a solid stick deodorant, you get the cream tube deodorant, and 2 free items. My personal favorites, the wipes and the small body wash. And all of this comes with free shipping as well. And here's another surprise I got for you. Use my promo code LouieT to get you $5 off. That's 40% off of the total price. Use the promo code LouieT when you head over to ShopMando, ShopMando.com, and use the promo code LouieT to get you $5 off if you're a new customer. Look, Mando is the best smelling whole body deodorant in the business. And I will stake my claim on that right now. And you tell them your man Louie T sent you. He's been masterful. And their usage of the pieces that they have and how guys have been interchangeable. You go and you get Noah Brown and you stick him into the lineup, and he's been outstanding for us. You know, um, it just goes to show you that we've got depth. You know, one of the things I was hypercritical of before the season started was I thought we had frontline talent, like enough talent to get us by, but we couldn't afford injuries at any position because we just didn't have enough talent. There wasn't any depth. And generally, when you have a new regime come in and there's this much change and turnover, depth is the first thing that is an issue because they're not concerned with finding good football players behind their starters. They're concerned with getting the right starters who fit their mindset and what they want to get done onto the team. And so I didn't feel like we were going to have enough depth. And now here we are with guys having to fill different roles for us, and the team isn't missing a beat. I mean, heck, even at corner, which it wasn't great, and the depth was tested and it wasn't great, but we got through it because the offense was really good, but we got through it, right? Not having Emmanuel Forbes, trying to figure out who was going to do what. I'm dying to see the snap counts. You know, I want to see how many snaps did Brandon Coleman play in this game, because every time I looked up, he was in the game. Doesn't mean he played the entire game. I don't think that was the case, but and I'm pretty sure Cornelius Lucas still started the game. But every time I looked up, Brandon Coleman was in the game. So I want to see what the snap counts. Did he have more snaps in this game than that of Cornelius Lucas? Because eventually they're going to get to a point where they're comfortable enough with just saying, all right, we're going to cut you loose, young fella. You're starting at left tackle. I want to see what the snap counts were for Mike Sainristil yesterday. And I want to see what the snap counts were for Noah Igbenogany, because I think Mike Sainristil didn't play as much as he had been the first 3 weeks because they're still shuffling around pieces and trying to figure out what the right combinations are going to be for this team. And when you go out and put forth the performance that they did, they're probably not going to be changing a whole heck of a lot other than, you know, reintegrating Clelin Ferrell back into the mix. That was another position where you say, hey, we can't afford any injuries. We don't have defensive ends to begin with. You can't afford injuries, and Clelin Ferrell hasn't played in 2 weeks. And you could argue the last 2 weeks, we've got the most pressure. No, week 1, we got a ton of pressure. We just didn't get Baker Mayfield down on the ground. But I said all of that to say this. It's been really refreshing to see a roster built the way that it's supposed to be. No knee-jerk reactions. No, let's go get this guy. Let's go get that guy. No, let's get guys that fit who we are, what we do. Let's build this culture. And I think slowly but surely, brick by brick, piece by piece, the foundation is being set. We're watching it in real time happen. And a performance like the one we saw against Arizona and being able to reflect on that the day after kind of shows you that this thing is being built in a totally unique way that we as fans aren't accustomed to seeing here in Washington. It's being done the right way, just like everything this offseason has been done the right way. And I think I said this yesterday, but I'm going to say it again today because I think it bears mentioning. We're the best team in the NFC East right now. And I don't think that's up for debate. And not just because record-wise we're 3-1 and everybody else in the division is either 2-2 or 1-3, but we're playing the best football right now. And the key phrase is right now. I don't know how long this is going to last for. I don't know what the Eagles look like when they get all of their pieces back on offense. But their defense is not good. I said this 2 weeks ago. I said it, you know, even though they played the Saints last week really well, I said, I don't think that their defense is fixed. I think that was an aberration. And I really think the Saints helped in their defense looking good because of the way they attack the Eagles. You can't attack the Eagles up the middle of their defense That's the strength of their run defense. You can get to the edge against the Eagles. They don't have any resistance out there. You can throw the football on the Eagles. They don't have any resistance there. They don't get any pressure on the quarterback. So even if the offense comes back and they get healthy and they start humming, I still think you can score points against the Eagles. I really, truly do. That's not a good defense. And again, ours isn't very good. But the Eagles offensively, I don't think they're as good as we are offensively. And I said this yesterday. Already, through 4 weeks, Jayden Daniels is the best quarterback in the NFC East because he can do things the others can't. And I said this yesterday, and this probably ruffled some feathers, especially from some of the other teams. I don't care. Jayden Daniels has shown the ability to lift the play of others. That's what elite quarterbacks do in the NFL, is take whatever they've been given and elevate them to heights and levels that allow them to play maybe even above their means, but at least play to a level that allows the team to thrive. No matter who's in the lineup or who isn't in the lineup. And Jalen Hurts yesterday, to me, was exposed in this regard. This man was second in the MVP voting 2 years ago. Team around him was incredible. They went to the Super Bowl. He had an incredible Super Bowl performance. We thought the world of him coming out of that season. But he's surrounded by tons and tons of talent. The offensive line is one of the best in football, if not the best in football when healthy. He's got Saquon Barkley at running back. He's got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, and he's got all these weapons, right? Get the football too. He's just a conductor. He's just a distributor, right? You take away Devontae Smith, you take away A.J. Brown, and you still got Goddard and you still got Saquon. And figure it out, right? If you're that good, figure it out. They had 0 total yards of offense after the first quarter, and they were getting thoroughly dominated at halftime, and the offense was a no-show. And he continues to turn the football over, something that our guy doesn't do. The Dallas Cowboys offense is just out of sync and out of sorts. And their defense, like everybody else in the division, isn't very good. Even if their offense gets on the same page and they figure it out, I still don't think they're good enough. And Dak, we already know, he can't carry a team. We've seen him in the playoffs go in there and have opportunities to win games, and he can't physically do it. So I'm not worried about Dak Prescott. I'm not worried about the Dallas Cowboys. They're defensively not better than they were with Dan Quinn a season ago. We're the best team in this division. Now we just got to do it week in and week out. We got to prove every single week that we belong in that conversation. People said yesterday, we put the league on notice. No, we did that last week. That's what the Monday night coming out party was about. That was putting the league on notice. This week was about letting everyone know that we're here to stay. Last week was, hey, look at us. Yoo-hoo, we're here. This week was, hey, we're here to stay and we're not going anywhere, and now you got to deal with us. Hope you're ready, because ready or not, here we come. You can't hide. I'm looking around at the conference, and I think I said this yesterday, but I'm going to say it again because the day after, I'm feeling even more dangerous. I woke up this morning feeling quite dangerous. I look around this conference, and if you're a fan of this team, you should be watching Monday Night Football tonight. 2 of the teams that have played good football in the conference are squaring off tonight. Seattle Seahawks are undefeated. One of the last undefeateds in the NFC, along with Minnesota. And the Detroit Lions went to the NFC Championship game last season, who are off to a 2-1 start, who haven't looked sharp offensively, but it seems to be much improved defensively, they're on display as well. You should be watching, because before we used to watch these games to see if teams like that, if like, what are we missing? Why aren't we that good? Man, I wish we had a Jahmyr Gibbs, or man, I wish we had this, or man, I wish we had that. We're not watching those games for the same reasons anymore. Now we're watching games like that to see, how do we stack up? Are we better than them? Can we compete with them? How good are they really? Because we're now in that mix. It feels good. It feels really good. On this Tell the Truth Monday, I'm going to tell you the truth. I didn't see this type of season coming this fast. If this were going to happen, I felt like this would be something that might have been able to transpire towards the end of the season, where you're like, man, Jayden Daniels has been really impressive this season. Think we got one. No. On this Tell the Truth Monday, after the week 4 destruction of the Arizona Cardinals 42-14, it's not about we got one. We got one of them ones. That's different. And I explained this yesterday. When you got one, you have a quarterback. You got a Derek Carr. You got a Kirk Cousins. You got a Dak Prescott. If you got one, you got a guy that you can win football games with and potentially make the playoffs and have a chance, right? That's when you got one. That's cool. Everybody's looking for one, right? Just get you one. Get a guy that you can. Tua is, you got one, right? That's what Tua, like the Dolphins were like, yeah, Tua's cool, but we would like better. But hey, guess what? He's our guy. What are we gonna do, right? We got one. But when you got one of them ones, now we're talking top 5, elite, upper echelon, a guy that can lift all of the players around him and elevate their games because he's that good. Now you're talking Joe Burrow, you're talking Josh Allen, you're talking upper echelon, you're talking Lamar Jackson, you're talking about the best of the best, creme de la creme, you're talking Patrick Mahomes. We're in that kind of rarefied air. This man has started the first 4 games of his career with an 82.1% completion percentage, highest in NFL history, not among rookies. We're talking about quarterbacks to have ever played the game in a single season through the first 4 games. We're talking names like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and all of the elite quarterbacks, Elway, Marino, Manning, all of those guys. And he's at the very top of that list through the first 4 games, not of the season, of his career. The man had a 91.3 completion percentage last week, and he followed that up with an 88% completion percentage this week. I mean, you got to be kidding me here. 26 of 30 for 233, 2 total touchdowns accounted for. Finally threw his first pick, but yeah, another rushing touchdown. And yeah, 50 yards rushing, 50 some odd yards, right? Like, this guy is incredible. Some of the throws he made yesterday, that one to Luke McCaffrey in particular, he's a game changer. He's one of them ones. He's not just one, he's one of them ones. And I'd argue right now, in the NFC, who's better than Jayden Daniels in the conference right now at quarterback? Give me a name. Because all of the heavy hitters that we perceive to be top 5 quarterbacks, they're all on the other side of the bracket. Mahomes and Allen and Jackson and Burrow, even Herbert when he's right. Find me the guy in this conference CJ Stroud, all on that other side of the bracket. We talked about how heavy and top-loaded and talented the AFC is from the quarterback position. Find me the guy in this conference. It ain't Jordan Love with the way he's playing right now. It ain't Brock Purdy. He's nowhere near as talented as Jayden Daniels. It's not Jalen Hurts. It ain't Dak Prescott. It's not Kirk Cousins. Find me the guy right now. You want to say it's Sam Darnold? I'll tell you, look, respect to Sam Darnold for what he's doing right now. 11 touchdown passes through the first 4 weeks. He's been incredible. They're 4-0. He hasn't flinched. Do you really think he's better than Jayden Daniels? No way. Find me a quarterback in this conference better than Jayden Daniels. I'll leave you with that. I'm your man, Louie T, signing off on behalf of Bleacher Report. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys next week. Hopefully, we'll be talking about another victory after the Browns game, getting to 4-1, remaining atop the NFC East, all that good jazz. You know, this thing has a chance to really be special because the Eagles are off next week. They got to bye. They got to lick their wounds. The Cowboys play the Steelers on Sunday Night Football, and they got some injuries. DeMarcus Lawrence is out 6 to 8 weeks. No telling if Michael Parsons is going to play in that game. They've got offensive struggles. The Steelers coming off their worst defensive game of the season. I still have yet to watch that game, so I got to take a peek at what they did and how they allowed the Colts with Joe Flacco, which that's probably why they were able to score points. Flacco came in there as a veteran and moved the football and did the thing that we know he's still capable of doing. But they being the Steelers, could easily quiet the Cowboys in that game, hold them to 13 or 16 points and win that game. And all of a sudden, we got a 2-game, game and a half cushion on the Eagles and a 2-game lead on the Cowboys. In the division, we could create some space here by winning next week at home and having the Cowboys lose. We could create a little bit of space, but one at a time, right? Let's just enjoy this. Let's savor this on this Victory Monday. You guys get out of here. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for joining me. Have a good one.